Sorry, threw me off a little bit. So I want to talk a little bit about your accident.
Mm-hmm.
That's obviously a huge, factor in your life in music. So I guess I'm wondering, as you were first realizing what happened to you, like when you're waking up in the hospital or whatever that looked like, what
Mm-hmm.
was going through your head?
The first thing I did when I woke up, I didn't know where I was, and I felt like I was choking because they had put breathing tubes down for the 2 crushed lungs, but I couldn't see because I had these blinding kind of hemorrhages in both eyes. But I finally was able to get a nurse's attention and scribble down on a piece of paper, "wife and kid?" ? And that was the first time that then the nurse told me, she said, "wife and kid," she read it, and she said, "well, you've been in an accident on a motorcycle, you're in the hospital, your wife is here, and your family's fine." And I think I went back out for another day and a half or so, kind of right after that. But that was the biggest thing. I think that I was just, and that's one of those things that changes with family. I mean, now with kids and with a wife, it's just like all of a sudden, that becomes the most important thing in the world. And so that was such a relief. I think in a lot of ways that was my first bit of therapy, because that was sort of that first moment where I realized, like, okay, the most important things are okay. And they didn't get into all of the stuff that was done that I needed to do at that point, obviously. But then over the next few days, as I got consciousness back and started realizing all those things that were needing to be fixed and patched up and things like that, it was daunting, but I was so fortunate to be surrounded by a great family and friends and even fans. I mean, people that are fans of the band were coming to the hospital and things like that. So it turned into something that was, it would have been real easy to get negative about, but I was just surrounded by so many great people. I kind of would have felt like I was being selfish had I gotten incredibly negative. Because there's a lot of people, you're in an intensive care unit with 15 other people that are all in these beds and all at different levels, some a little worse, some a little better. But one of the guys didn't have any family there, was from out of state, and so I think I can't sit around here and moan about how hard this is when I've got a dozen people surrounding my bed wanting to help me get better. So it was tough, and it was a tough, really, 2 years after that, trying to get everything back to normal. But it's and it in some ways is still getting back to normal, but it's a process that I'll keep putting up with. Gas had gotten so expensive a few years back. I'd had it for 4 or 5 years probably when I was riding it. I didn't have a car, so that was my main mode of transportation. And I'd done a lot of riding on it, and it had always been safe. And then it's just one of those things that happens when somebody else isn't paying attention.
Was there a turning point where you felt like, now I'm back to normal, now my life is, going to move forward?